All right. How's it going, guys? How's it going, guys? Okay, that's better, that's better. So, for people who don't know me, I'm Goro Fujita. I'm an art director, illustrator, animator, children's book artist. I don't know what else I did, but basically a little bit to my background. 1999, I saw like this animation from Victor Navone called Alien Song, and that was like, for me, like this crazy inspiring thing, and animation was the thing I wanted to pursue, and I did. So I went to school for animation in Germany for 3 years, and I was completely like blown away by it. I wanted to do it for the rest of my life. But meanwhile, I met somebody, like a fellow student who was like extremely good at Photoshop painting. So I wanted to learn how to paint as well, but that's something I did on the side. By the time I graduated, I had like job offers in both areas, like animation and visual development. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like I'm all self-taught in VisDev, so I'm not confident, but maybe I should pursue that route too. And in 2008, I was hired by DreamWorks Animation for visual development, which was absolutely crazy for me because I applied for both positions. I stayed there for 7 years, worked on Megamind, Merry Madagascar, Madagascar 3, Penguins of Madagascar for 3 years, and Boss Baby, most recently. And when PDI DreamWorks up north closed down, I decided to do a leap of faith into VR. And I was basically working for 2 years as an art director at Oculus Story Studio, which closed down recently too. So you might not want to be around me, But we developed this software called Quill, which I'm going to show today, which absolutely changed my life in the biggest way possible. So Quill is a VR painting tool that we developed for VR experience called Dia Angelica at Oculus Story Studio. And when Story Studio closed down, Inigo, the creator of Quill, and we were not ready to let this thing go because we both believed that this is something special. This is something that will change the industry forever, and I'm not exaggerating at all, and you will see why. And we decided to find a new home for Quill, and we decided that Facebook Social VR is the right place for Quill. And now we're there developing Quill further and hopefully making it the Photoshop of VR, let's say that. And then last year I was talking about Quill, a little bit about the history and a little bit about how I got into it. This time I want to show more than talk, that's more interesting. So I'm going to dive straight into VR. For the people that are all very close to the screen, you might throw up. So, if you get sick, make sure to close your eyes because I will try to keep my head still. But when you're in VR, you don't notice. You look around, and for you out there, it's like, So if you get sick, just look at me, right? That's interesting too. So, but I will try my best to not to move my head too much. So let's get right to it. Before I do this, how many of you guys know what VR is? And how many of you guys have done VR? Okay, how many of you guys done Quill? Oops. Okay, we're gonna change this today. All right? Okay, let's get right to it. So this is not just a title. This is a thing that I did when we first joined Facebook Social VR. So you guys know what this is? This is the Facebook Aquila, the Wi-Fi airplane, but what is on there? Oh, look at that. It's a robot. Right? What's this? The Facebook like button. But let's see what's in there. Oh, that's the left brain of Quill. This is Inigo. And who's that? Oh, that looks like me. That's what's in my head. Okay, but there's also an elevator, right? So let's see. Oh, look at that. That's another engineer, Sebastian. Hey, how's it going? So yeah, so as Quill, we consider ourselves, he's left brain, I'm right brain, right? And that's how Quill was developed. But if you zoom out, oh, there's the Earth. Oh no, space. Asteroids. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and the universe ends here. So isn't that cool? So you might remember my piece that I did called Worlds and Worlds, where it zooms endless, like in and in and in and in and out and out and out and out. And this was like a similar idea. This was a piece that I did when I first started. So now at Facebook, we're developing this tool. Let me take this off a little quick. We're developing this social platform called Facebook Spaces. Who knows Spaces? Man, you guys have to get busy. Yeah. So Facebook Spaces is basically a social platform where you can meet each other in form of avatars. So you create your own avatar, and then you can just meet each other in virtual space, no matter where you are. And then you can communicate, you can play games together and stuff. That's already out there, right? So if you have an Oculus Rift or an HTC Vive, you can use it. And now we just recently announced that we're bringing Quillustrations, so we call those things, into Spaces. And at Facebook, as a proof that content connects people, I had the idea to create a short film. So basically, I did a full-on short film in Quill. I never took it out of there. I storyboarded, and created all the assets, designed the characters, lit it, and animated it all in the same scene. So I'm going to show you the short film first. I'm not going to talk during the short film. This is all real time, and it's meant to be consumed by 4 people at the same time, which is really cool. So my challenges were to actually design it from 4 different angles. But I'm going to show it from one angle. I'm going to move around slightly, but I'm not going to move around too much, because otherwise those guys are going to get sick. Right? So let me open it up. And I'm going to show it, let's say I'm going to show it twice, walk you guys through my thought process and stuff, but I'm going to run through it without talking first.
Once upon a time, there was a robot working at a junkyard. Unit 7 was his name. He was tired of sorting junk day in and day out. He often wondered what was on the other side of the fence. He thought to himself, what if I could fly and explore the unknown? Suddenly, he had an idea. All this junk around him didn't seem so useless after all. He worked tirelessly through the night, welding his idea. Now it was time to put his invention to the test. He stood proudly atop a mountain of junk, took a deep breath, and he tried and tried, but the wings were just too heavy. None of his inventions seemed to work, and he started accepting the bitter truth that he may never be able to fly. Then it dawned on him that all this time he'd had the wrong approach. A little bit of creative thinking was all he needed, and together with his new friends, he flew off to explore the world beyond the fence.
So I'm going to stay here in VR, and if we can dim the sound of the PC here. I don't need the sound for it because I'm gonna walk you guys through. But basically, this was entirely done in Quill. There's no lighting in here. It's all painted. It's all frame by frame animation, right? So, yes. That's how crazy I am, you know? That I actually thought that's a good idea to do. And I did this all in 3 weeks. What? And yeah, I'm gonna show you how I did it, right? So basically I'm gonna walk you through it. So this is all real time, right? So I can just go close, I can scale it up, I can make it smaller. And if I go in here, there might be an Easter egg. There's another Henry. So this will be available for the public next year once we are able to port Quill illustrations into Spaces. We're working on it. And then you can always just zoom out like this, right? So you can look from different angles. And this is the sky dome that I painted. But then if you go inside, it's all like a looping animation. But you can also make it bigger. But you see the lighting, there's no light. People were asking me like, so where did you put the light source? Well, it's all painted, you know? So it's basically like 2 images, two sets basically that I swap in and out. Whenever he's welding, then he's like basically I'm using the other set. So let me skip this one. Let's see if, so you see like I kept the set always complete and I moved stuff around. I can actually manipulate the scene right now here. I won't do it right now, but I will show it in a bit. But for example, this shot, this was by far the most challenging one. And I was talking to some of you guys while I was at the booth. But if you look at this, yeah, it's all lit, but it's all frame by frame painted light, right? So if you think about it, this shadow over here, that's a second character. The shadow that runs has to basically match that light direction from there, right? So if you look at it, the shadow moves differently from the guy, right? It has to like stay perpendicular to the sun. And also if you look at the junk here, there's some secondary animation going on here too. And this thing. So I was showing this to Inigo, the creator of Quill. And when he landed, he was like, oh, there's no ambient occlusion. And I'm like, oh, God, don't make me do this. But I agreed with him because it looked like a little bit flat. So I added ambient occlusion, which is contact shadow, right there. And that's also all frame by frame animated. Now you might think like, yeah, okay, that's okay. But if you think about it, he's doing a 360. See that? Which means the light stays there. Which means I have to change the lighting for every single frame. See that? So the shadow side stays the shadow side, and the light side stays the light side. So yeah, that was hard. This is my favorite scene. When I sit here, right, sometimes when I was done with the scene, I would be at work, and I would just do this. And you hear the rain, it's just so awesome. It's just like you're in there with him, especially when you make him bigger, real size, there's a reflection of him too. And it's super peaceful. It's sad, but peaceful. And I was just sometimes just sitting here and just watching it. And you know, like being able to be inside your mind like this is to me like mind-blowing to date. Like I still can't comprehend that we have technology that enables you to enter your mind. Because if you think about it, this is like all 100% my handwriting, right? This comes straight out of my head into the canvas. There's no middleman in there. And that's why it's so magical, because it's 100% what I wanted. And I did it all by myself, you have to imagine, right? Except the sound, I got help on the sound, but everything else, from storyboarding to the finished piece, was done by myself in 3 weeks. 3 long weeks. But. So here, I have faced a different challenge as well. There's a table here where there's 4 positions of the avatars, And you don't want the birds to collide with the heads, right? So I always had a template of the Facebook Spaces table in here so I can frame the animation correctly. And now I'm going to show you guys how I did it. Let me stop this and go to storyboarding. Any storyboarders in the audience? Two. Okay. So you know, I did everything by myself, right? So I don't want to hear my voice. I'm not a very good narrator, you know, and it would be super distracting to me if I would do the voiceover first. So what I did is I took the script that I wrote and wrote it into text-to-speech and used that as stand-in, right? So don't be disturbed. And can we turn up the sound again? Not too loud, please. It's going to be disturbing. So.
Once upon a time there was a robot working on a junkyard. Was his name. He was tired of doing the same thing day in day out, and he was curious what the world is like beyond the fence. He thought to himself, what if he could fly like a bird and explore the unknown? Suddenly he had an idea. All this junk around him didn't seem useless after all.
So you see, like, it's very similar, almost identical to what it was. And you see here faintly, can you see this? Can you see the shadows of the people? So that's the Spaces table. This is where the people spawn. And this is how I basically designed the piece. And you see that I only did the necessary stuff to sell the story.
He worked tirelessly through
exactly.
the night, welding his idea.
And then I play with scale, right? Like for the welding part, I want it to be magical. It's like a surface around, like on the table in front of us. Well, sometimes, like for example, in a sad scene, I want it to be immersed in it. Because this looks like a little model, and it looks very magical, and you really understand how he's like focusing on the detail and stuff, which might not be as interesting if you're immersed in it. So I also played with scale, which is usually also something you cannot do in traditional film, because you're always looking at the same size frame, right? So this was really magical, because to me, if I'm like the audience size, to me the robot is right now this big, right? And then if I go to the next scene, the robot is like about this big, like from the ground. Took a deep breath and I love it. Yeah, but so you see that this is how I storyboarded the entire piece, and I knew it's going to work, right? Because this is like exactly the same, and the positioning of the junk is stayed actually exactly the same. The timing changed a little bit of the running. This is here he's running a little bit faster. He's like sprinting, but yeah, it totally sold me on it. This is going to work.
He started accepting the bitter truth that he might.
Now here, obviously, I imagined the rain, and I knew that I want to do like a puddle here, and I want to. Yeah, I let you talk. Yeah, so basically, there's this little fan that he's going to use for his little fan pack or whatever you want to call it. But basically, this is how I imagine also storyboard in the future. If you do an animated movie, you can do the storyboard like this, because you can just, okay, those are the different angles. Here you can see like how I chose the angles. So basically every shot, I have a shortcut where I can just see what each person will see. This is the hero angle, obviously. Bye-bye. So that's that. Now, how did I deal with the set design and the assets? So yeah, one thing I forgot is basically you could also just record stuff, right? You can record shots, frame shots, and that way you can also do VR previs, VR storyboarding, and then use that for a traditional animated 3D movie. I find it funny that I call it traditional, but yeah, I feel like it's becoming traditional now, because VR is becoming more and more the future. But yeah, if you look at this, I created this asset set of things, right? And at any time, I can just select pieces and move it, right? So this is all editable. But I can also duplicate it like this. And I can just design a set really quickly. Maybe I want this tire and just put it on top. Yeah. Right? And then I'm like, oh, I like this junk here. I want to do more of it. Oops, I selected more. Then now I can scale it too as I want. And just populate the area. And see, just imagine doing this in Maya. Oh my God. Right? Right? Like even this, right? Doing this, or like, oh, let me get this car here. I want this car. So I'm using the selection tool right now, and I want this car. Oh, I selected something else, but this car, I'm gonna put it on there, on top of there, right? And then I might say like, oh, I want to bang it up. And yeah, maybe I take the blue car as well and put it in there like this, right? And see how fast I can do this? This is unbelievable, right? And then I'm like, yeah, I don't like the color of this car, right? So let's see what I can do here. Let me find that car. Is it the red one? No. Let me find it real quick. I take the blue one. So I have the body and the chassis like separately. So that's the chassis, that's the body. And I want the body color to be different. And you just use the colorizer tool, pick a red color and just color it red, right? But you need lighting, okay, then you just add lighting to it just like with color, right? So this is how fast you can work in VR. So I had those assets, I would create everything, right? Grab things, you know, and place it, like, okay, I want this to be like a cage, you know, duplicate it, but you know, you don't want to duplicate like what you can do is like, for example, let me undo this again. So if I do this, you can also do redo, 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 redo. Right? So it's like extremely efficient, right? For example, you have this birdie here. Let me grab this bird. And then let me grab the wings. Do this, and then wing here. Whoop. So all the strokes are like always live and selectable. So let's do this, and I want the birdie to fly like a pirouette or something, you know. So I select everything, duplicate it with a slight rotation, and there you go. Woo, bye-bye. Isn't that cool? This is insane, right? So people were asking me at my booth, like, why are you so convinced? This is why, you know? Because this is changing the game, like seriously. So, okay, so enough of Beyond the Fence. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I'm gonna move on. I have only 20 minutes left, so I have to animate. So basically, let me open like a little animation that I did. So this is a little troll that I animated. So it's like completely live, right? I can scale up, scale down. And then, let's say it's an ogre like Shrek. So he's stinky, right? What I do is I'm gonna create a new layer, create a bunch of frames here. So let's say we do 40 frames maybe. I play it back. I go to the brush. I set the duration of the brush maybe around like 0.7 seconds. And he has a smelly body BO, you know, like ogres do. And then I make the brush a little bit transparent, a little bit more. Maybe I use a little bit darker color. And then I'm gonna start animating like the smell. So this doesn't look that good, so I'm gonna use a little bit shorter duration for the brush, and let's see how this looks. Oops, let's see. What's going on? I think I'm not playing. Yeah, I'm not playing back. So now. Ooh. And I'm just keep painting, you know. Yes, smelly BO. And then of course you need some flies. So let's add some flies to it. So I set the duration to really short. So now he's smelly. Make it a little bit longer, maybe. Ooh, this is so fun. Seriously, it's so fun. I could do this forever. Seriously, could do this forever. Yeah. But look, this is super cool, right? It's like super fast. It's like incredible. So let me show you something else. So for example, I have the ground here. Let me grab the ground strokes here and just use this as a brush. So I'm just gonna, what I like to do is I use it to construct shapes, right? So you see this guy is still walking. It's so funny, I'm like working and he's like walking around. It's something I had to get used to. I'm like, oh, he's still walking. It's super fun. So, no, I didn't want to do this. What am I doing? So, let me just do this. It's like a little puddle or something, right? How many minutes? Okay, I'm good. 18 minutes left. That should be enough for character animation. So, let me see. So I want to show something else before dynamic animation, right? Fluid simulation, handmade fluid simulation. So let's say this is a puddle, and I create a new layer again. Let me add some frames, maybe 30 frames or something. Play it back, and animate like a rock. No, maybe it's like a water bubble or something. It just comes up. Nope, I have to play it back. No. Right, now you have this thing. I want more dynamic in there, right? So it's like, whoa, boom. Nice. Now I need like secondary animation too, right? So let's see. So I wait for it to come down. Boing, 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 boing. Yeah! Boy, 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 boy. Boy, 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 boy. See, like now I can really feel the animation, and this is freaking amazing. Like I can't get enough of this, right? Like it's like boom, boom, boom. Isn't that cool? It's like, oh, I'm gonna drop the water. Boom, 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 boom. It's cool, right? Okay, I have 17 minutes left. Let me do some character animation. So I recently made this, maybe you guys have seen it, like you guys that follow me have seen this piece. And let's animate it, right? So the cool thing is like it doesn't matter like if you did it before or not, like you can just take it, right? Create a new layer, add some frames to it, and we're gonna do the same thing. So we're gonna play it back. I pick this color, let me pick a brush, let me set the lifespan a little bit shorter, and then let's do it. All right, ready? No, it's not going to be so spectacular. So boop, 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 boop. So it's boiling, right? I like that my body language actually matters now. You know how you like, when you draw or when you animate, your face changes and stuff? And now I feel like what I do actually matters. And then, and then maybe she has some, maybe it's like a magic spell, right? So maybe it's a magic spell, so it's like, oh, oh, oh. Okay, I don't have to do this much movement, but. Okay, now she's a little bit static, but I think she needs some particles floating around. So let's add some particles in there. Oh, this is so cool. I don't know what this is, but it's just fun. So, okay, I have the head separated, the arms separated, right? This is the body, left arm, right arm, head. Okay, we have 14 minutes. This should be plenty. So I'll start with the right arm, right? So I'm going to select the right arm here. Let me see if I have, yeah, I don't want this. I want to be only, hey, shame on you. Focus. All right, so this is the timeline here. You see that this one has one frame. I can duplicate the frame. I can turn on onion skinning, and then you can just move, right? And then you can duplicate again, move, duplicate, move, okay, move, duplicate, move, move. And with the left, right keys, you can just check the animation. It's pretty good. There's a big jump here, so let me add like another frame. Let's see, yeah. If you play it back, oh, it's very fast. So let me stop this. Make the frame rate maybe like 8 frames per second. Yeah, that's good. So we have this now. Then we use the left arm. Left arm too, and then we're gonna go to the timeline. We're gonna make it, hold on, also 8 frames per second. And then we're gonna do the same thing. And maybe we're gonna do a few more frames maybe. So I'm gonna select this all, right? Duplicate frame. And just make a circular movement. And the cool thing is the strokes that I selected, they stay selected when you duplicate the frame, and it's just like so easy. So because you don't have to reselect the strokes and stuff. So let's see. Oop. This one, what's going on? Oh, I wanted to move this one, okay. Okay, there's a huge jump here, so I'm gonna keep duplicating, move. Duplicate, move. Let's see what this looks like. Yeah, that's cool. Let's play this back. Ooh. Okay, now her head has to move too. So let's go back to the timeline, set this also to, I have to stop the timeline and then set it to maybe also 8 frames per second, and then do the same thing, right? So now I select the whole head. Select it all, duplicate frame. Ooh. 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 I don't know why I'm making this sound. She just looks like she would make the sound. And of course I can spend more time in it, but I have 11 minutes left. But see, I did this all in 4 minutes. Take that, Maya. Oh, there's a big jump here. I think I'm gonna add one more frame. One more frame. Let's see. Might not be perfect, but oh, it's good. Man, I'm so good. But yeah, look at that. Isn't that crazy? Like within like 5 minutes, it's like an animated scene. So I have 10 minutes left, right? I'm already done, isn't it? Like, I thought I would run out of time, but I can actually do this. So like, if you have questions, I can just start doodling stuff around, playing around, so you can see like how I work. I think some people were interested in how, you know what, let me show some techniques. I think that's better than, but you can ask me questions if you want. Any questions?
Yes,
yeah,
hi.
Go ahead.
Can I ask how do you do the reflection in the water
Yes.
in the robot scene? Thank you.
I will tell you that right now. Why don't I demonstrate it, right? So there's a character here. And then we have a plane. like this. Make it big. And maybe just bring down the opacity, right? Then you take this, duplicate it, and flip in Y. And then select it, do this. Now you have reflect, oh. And now you have reflection. And then you can basically, so it's physical, you know, it's right there. So what you can do is like even higher the opacity of this guy. See? Ooh. And this is exactly how I did the robot reflections too. Make sense? What else?
In the storyboard of
Yes.
your film,
Yes.
there were 4 people, like
Yes.
in blue.
Yeah.
What was that?
So basically here in the open menu, you can like, no, not in the layer menu, there's this icon here where you can import 3D models. So basically what I did is I created in Maya like a primitive model of the Spaces table. It's the social VR platform that I was talking about where you can meet with your avatars. And basically the idea is that you sit with your friends around a table. And basically what I did is I created a primitive model of the table and like the avatars where they spawn. So I know exactly where the people look, like the point of views of the people. So that way I could design my experience specifically for Spaces. And if you don't know what Spaces is, it might be hard to grasp. So you can go to facebook.com/spaces and check it out. And then you will understand what I mean. Meanwhile, yeah, more questions. I think one of the interesting questions that came is how do you get those smooth shapes and stuff like that? And it's basically using the advanced duplication tool. So I asked the question myself right now, but basically what I do is like, boom, right? Let me create a new layer. Now I have this, I select this, and then everything has like a gimbal. And then you can bring this gimbal up here and duplicate it and revolve it around, right? And then you just wait until it comes around, and ta-da! And then you can say like, oh, I wanna basically, guys, seriously, focus. So you can still do like, you can change the shape and stuff like that, you know, duplicate things, right? Like you can use it for anything. So if this is a body, you can use it also for the head, you can use it also for the arms, and you can use it also, now you have a character, right? So that's how fast you can work with it. I have 7 minutes left, so I'm gonna show you a little bit like how I treat like grounds, because people were asking like if they do like ground like this, then they can't colorize it, right? Because if they colorize it, then it's like colorizes the whole thing because it's based on vertex colors. Yes, it is annoying. So there's a workaround. You can just make it small, right? And then basically duplicate the selection a bunch of times, and then you duplicate this, and I'm gonna do it with grass, because with grass it's more impressive. So, so I do something like this. This is grass, and I'm coloring this. I'm gonna try to move as fast as I can here. This is how I will work in real time, you know, even if it might look fast. I've been spending so much time in VR. So if there's a VR-related disease, I'm the first one to get it, for sure. So there's grass here, right? And then let me colorize it a little bit. Let's see, something like this. And a little bit of yellow. Boom. And then let me simplify this whole thing a little bit. And then now I take this, duplicate, scale, duplicate, take all this, right? Take all this, and then, So, do you guys understand why this is amazing? Yes. Do you guys understand why I believe now that this is going to change the animation industry? Yes. Because this cuts down so much time. And the crazy thing is I can do a full-on color key, show it to the director, and he has like a 90% finished look already in pre-production. So that is freaking crazy. So I'm just trying to like walk around, going to studios, and open your eyes, people. This is already available, it's not the future. So Yeah, we have 5 minutes left, so I take questions.
Can I ask about when you did the animation, the car animation, is there any kind of parenting and pivot setting for different, when you move the head and the arms?
It's basically like frame by frame animation, just in the traditional manner, no parenting or anything, because we want to keep this a playful, like professional but playful and fun tool. The moment you get into like parenting and rigging and stuff like that, it becomes highly technical. So you basically lose the fun of it. Then you can also just take this, export it as an FVX and take it to Maya, right? So that's the difference. So we are trying to keep everything as intuitive as possible, have a simple timeline like this. So the UI is going to change this like Windows 98, but we're basically focusing on the functionality first. So that's why the UI looks a little bit outdated, but the tool is totally like revolutionary. So so no, we don't have like complex parenting or anything like that. For me, like the selection tool here is like crazy powerful. You know, you can just select anything, change it. Let's give this guy some ears, you know, and like you can work so fast with it. And I understand that parenting in some cases, let's say you have a guy on a skateboard and you want to keep the skateboard on a layer or something. Obviously, I understand that parenting might help, but you can also just duplicate, move, and just animate the skateboard individually. And so to your question, no, we don't. One more? Yeah.
Okay, so this is a two-parter. So first, everything is just animated and modeled all within Quill. Like there's no other program used in.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And then the second question is, do you have any advice for someone who is just getting started in VR, like VR development, VR visual design, and all that?
Like tips on how to progress, or?
Yeah, like someone who's never had VR experience.
I mean, it's like VR. It's the same question for everything, right? Like if you ask, like I never painted in oils before, and do you have any tips? Well, then it's I start painting with oils, right? So basically, I would say just start painting in VR. I know it's a little bit hard to afford for students because it's not the most cheap hardware to get, right? I'm gonna take this off now, but if you can afford a headset, I would highly recommend to get it right now because the VR market, I have the VR face maybe, but the market is not big yet. So people were saying, I'm gonna wait for the second Rift or something, but there's no use for a second Rift right now because it's not like an iPhone that everybody has. It's something that only 300,000 people have, right? So we're not gonna make like a Rift 2 anytime soon because there's no gain to that, right? You might get more resolution, but you don't need more resolution to do great art. So if you have the money, I would really highly recommend to jump on it now because you have an advantage, market advantage. If you can use this as fast as I can now, I mean, you can just in real time create concepts, right? Like, for example, the director asks you something and you know, oh, you mean like this? And then it's like, oh, yes, exactly, right? So it's been a crazy ride that's becoming like reality. And you've seen like the way I move, I truly feel like a magician. It doesn't feel real because I'm just duplicating scale, duplicating the animate, done, right? It's like, I'm like, how is this even possible, right? So I'm so passionate about it. I'm such a believer in this because I feel like really I've seen it where it can go, and then everybody's like, I don't believe it, you know? So no, this is a real thing, right? And this is available right now. Animation, not yet, but it's gonna be available in the next few weeks. So we're gonna release it soon. So to your question, just do it, get it, and start painting in VR. And it's no different from painting in Photoshop, only now you can just paint in 3 dimensions for real. You know, and also for 3D modelers, like if there's any modelers out there, there's Medium, there's Gravity Sketch, there's like tons of amazing software that you can use to create art. Like, for example, in Medium, I was modeling like a guy in a pose like this, right? How would you do that in Maya? Of course, you read it like this, you know, and then you spend like a month rigging, and then you do this, right? But I just model it like this in 1 hour. right? And then I'm like, I don't like the sound. Okay, erase, erase, redo, right? And in what other tool can you do this? In none, you know? That's possible because it's VR. So, you know, thanks for listening, guys. But this is, get on it.